It's Monday, the 11th of March, 2024. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, we have 5 stories to kick off the week, 5 big stories to get through in 5 minutes. Let's get going with story number 1. The S&P ASX 200 hit a record high on Friday, with global equity markets trading at or close to record levels on the back of growing hopes that there won't be a global recession.
That's right. Starting in Australia, the S&P ASX 200 closed up 1.1% to finish at a new record of 7,847 points. Last week, it was the financial and property companies that led the way in response to hopes that rates will start falling this year. We talked a bit about the banks last week. We have the Commonwealth Bank at a new record high. It was up nearly 2% on Friday. National Australia Bank, Westpac and ANZ are all around multi-year highs. The weak economic growth announcement last week, the economy expanded by just 0.2% last quarter, had the unusual effect of helping share markets because it improves the chance of a rate cut. The confidence here and overseas reflects the growing belief, which has sort of been supported by central banks around the place, that the globe may not fall into recession. No recession means earnings will grow, good for markets.
What about outside Australia?
The US and Eurozone share markets hit new record highs last week, notwithstanding Wall Street came off a touch over the weekend. Nvidia, always worth mentioning that stock, everyone's favourite, hit a new high over the weekend, then fell to finish 5.5% lower. That's about $200 billion worth of value. Japan's bourse is trading at a record level, recently beating its previous peak of 35 years ago. The FTSE 100 in London actually peaked about a year ago, trading around those levels now. The Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong is the odd market out. That reflects weakness in China. All this is good. Still a chance of a global recession, but most people don't think that's where we're going to land.
All right, on to story number 2 now. Sean, the value of industrial property in Australia has grown rapidly over the past 3 years, and it's now actually in line with the office sector, according to a new report.
For many years, industrial was a poor cousin to commercial property. But then along came online shopping and then COVID, which accelerated the need for companies to have big warehouses and send out goods. Then came data centers, cloud computing, AI, etc., etc. Nowadays, office is the poor cousin to industrial. Higher rents and new developments over the past 3 years has pushed the value of the industrial property market to $293 billion, according to CBRE, and reported in the Fin Review. Office is at $295 billion, almost there. Retail comes in at $267 billion. No surprises. Investors reckon that industrial will keep running, particularly since office is off about 15 to 20% over the past year or so.
Sean, story number 3, there's a civil war looming in the auto industry, with upmarket electric vehicle brand Polestar joining Tesla in resigning from the national motoring body in protest over its stance on the government's proposed national emission standards. However, yesterday, Energy Minister Chris Bowen hinted that some of the standards might actually be changed.
Yeah, so starting with Polestar, it said it wasn't prepared to continue as a member of the lobby group, the Federal Chamber of Automotive Industries, which it claimed had been campaigning to erode trust in the government's new scheme. As they're currently proposed, the new standards will cap emissions of a car manufacturer's fleet of vehicles. It will apply to new cars only, designed to reduce emissions by 60% by 2030. Now, Polestar has about 4,000 vehicles on the road. It says with transport emissions forecast to be Australia's largest source of emissions by 2030, something needs to be done. Same deal as Tesla. Of course, these are EVs, so they benefit if you cap the number of internal combustion engines out there. This has been a real problem for the automotive industry over the past week or so. Now, yesterday, Energy Minister Chris Bowen conceded the new standards were being introduced faster than other countries. He kind of opened the way for change, saying if the industry came to him with sensible ideas, he'd listen.
Story number 4, AMP Deputy Chief Economist Diana Messina has provided an economist look at women in the workforce and the opportunity cost of having fewer women in jobs.
Yeah, so start with participation rate, 62.6% for females, well below 71.1% for males. Mind you, it's much better than 40 years or so ago, where it was like about 43% or something. More women work part-time, more women want to work more hours. The main reason for women not being able to work is caring for kids, followed by health conditions or a disability. Now, childcare is easily the dominant reason. However, it's not just the cost. In fact, the main reason is that women prefer to look after their kids. It's their choice. The gender pay gap is real based on OECD figures, but Australia at 9.9% is doing better than the global average of 11.6%. The solution, according to Diana Messina, 3 things: improve financial literacy starting in primary schools, do more around childcare, and society needs to better accept men taking time off work to look after their family, while girls should be taught how high school subject choices play a role in future employment.
Finally, Sean, story number 5, more than 43,000 kids across the country are being homeschooled. That's twice as many as before the pandemic.
And some of the biggest winners are the tutoring companies across the nation. The Australian Tutoring Association's latest survey of 120 members reveals parents are paying between $50 and $110 an hour for one-on-one lessons, according to a story in The Australian. 40% of parents used tutoring purely for remedial purposes, and 9.2% pinned the reason on poor teaching at schools. 1/3 of tutors reported a rise in homeschooling, and nearly half had seen an increase in school avoidance over the past 2 years. 4 out of 10 students had been tutored for more than 2 years.
All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Monday, the 11th of March, 2024. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed Business News, wherever you listen to podcasts. That comes with a bunch of interviews and things. Today's interview is a fantastic explainer of nuclear energy and how it affects investors and all of this. It is a fantastic 101 on the whole industry. Check that one out. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.